Hello everyone and welcome back to another video on the channel. Yes, I am back for another video on Invincible, and you guys have been really enjoying my videos on this series. Last video got over 1,000 views, which is astronomical compared to my channel. We are actually so very close to 500 subscribers, so please subscribe to the channel if you guys are new here or if you enjoy my Invincible review. Sadly, we only have just a few episodes left, but episode 6 is here and I watched it, and I mean, I'm just going to continue to rave about this series because I just love it that much. So we're going to be talking about spoilers for this entire episode, and I haven't had any other videos besides the Invincible ones recently, but I will be having my, I guess, series finale for Falcon and Winter Soldier next week, as well as I'll review all the Oscar movies all in one video along with predictions in possibly a separate video than that. So thank you guys for enjoying these videos, and let's just jump right into episode 6 with just this episode being the Mark and Amber show. This episode was the breaking point of this relationship after Mark was not able to make his dates at the end of the last episode because he was nearly beat to death at the end of that one. And I will say one negative I have about this episode is that beating that he took in the last episode, where he was literally almost torn straight through by that one like big bulking huge monster guy that was just awesome to watch just beat the crap out of Invincible, and he just was kind of fine at the beginning of this episode. He took 6 days of recovery, and the excuse was he was hit by a bus to Amber, and Eve was able to get him out of that situation, and they decided to go on a weekend to this university and kind of see what their future could be. And Mark really wants to be with Amber, and he really wants to take Amber out and just be in this university and have a weekend to themselves and just really make up for all that lost time that he's had and really take a break from being invincible for a while, because he's not really sure if he wants to do this superhero thing. Him and Eve are kind of running into that same thing where, is saving the world really something that they want to do, or do they want to do other things? With Eve, I think her story is very interesting because she has completely abandoned her home and her dad worrying about all these things, but she leaves anyways, and she goes, flies off and builds this like amazing tree house base for herself, and she's helping people in different ways. She's growing trees, she's stopping like avalanches, she's helping people in ways that only she really could. And I've loved her arc, and I'm really interested to see where her story goes. And again, I mentioned this in my first video on Invincible, is that there's sort of a love triangle type thing with Eve, Mark, and Amber, and I think this relationship, or now friendship, that's been forming with Eve and Mark is very solid because they're similar in a lot of ways, and I really like their back and forth and their conversation in this episode. But back to Mark and Amber, Mark really wants to just go off to college with her and really be with her. That's really what he wants, and they get there and things start happening with, you know, this weird guy in one of the classes that that William's boyfriend is having issues with and is having some confrontation with, and this guy wants to basically fix humanity and take out all the issues with humanity. Some storylines that we've seen before in this AI type of robotic storylines with villain characters, and this guy creates these cyborgs by kidnapping different like jocks or students around the campus and turns them into these essentially cyborg brainless machines. And this was a very interesting concept because, one, they were kicking Invincible's ass throughout the majority of this episode, and that's what I love about this show, is that Invincible really is not invincible at all. He gets beat up on and off again and just completely destroyed it throughout this episode, and especially at the end of last episode. But even these like cyborg things, which you wouldn't think would be a giant issue for somebody called Invincible, was really like taking him to the tip of his toes. And this first guy he fights gets to a point where he can't handle who he is. He can't handle the fact that he's no longer, like, his brain function is gone and he just has some sort of himself left within him, and he can't bear to keep that, so he ends up jumping into a spike, a lot like Chronicle, or it kind of reminds me of Get Out with, you know, when you take their brains out and replace them with the old white dudes and they just really are not themselves. They're never going to be themselves again, and why live under the control of somebody else? And that really is that arc that this character has, that, you know, he just jumps through the spike, and, you know, William finds out that Mark is invincible in this scene and Amber does not. And I was kind of expecting Amber to find out in this episode, and I think she will by the end of the season, and I don't know how she's going to react to that. I honestly don't know where the relationship is going to end, and I'm really rooting for them because this episode broke my heart because, one, it's very relatable, this relationship of not being able to be there for your loved ones and having them kind of, you know, you trying to do these different things and ending up pushing away the person that you love the most. It's something that is extremely relatable to me and to a lot of people, which makes this character a lot relatable and reminds me a lot of Spider-Man. That's why I've been having the Spider-Man poster up for these reviews, because that's really who Mark is. He's a different Peter Parker, but with Superman-like powers. And so this entire relationship has been extremely endearing, and seeing it, come to its head at the end of this episode, and Amber going off to this party and maybe wanting to go with this different guy, but he says that he has a girlfriend, and she gets even more upset about that because she realized what she was doing. And it's heartbreaking to see this relationship really falling apart, because I really like them together, but she's just going to have to find out the truth behind it, and Mark is not ready to do that. And it's frustrating in a way, because we've seen a lot of these type of storylines before of, trying to keep your secret identity, and usually these are, found out pretty quickly in other movies. And since we're in a show format, we're now in episode 6 and she still doesn't know, and it seems to be dragging out a little bit longer than I thought it would be, because some aspects of the show, kind of resolves itself extremely fast, but there's some threads that they've been keeping throughout the entire mystery of the show, which one is Amber and Mark and that big question mark around their relationship. And next is the whole thing with Omni-Man and how his wife has really been trying to figure out what's going on, and she confronts him in this episode, which was extremely thrilling and kind of terrifying to watch her confront him about this. She steals the suit and has it examined by the guy who makes all the suits, and they pretty much confirmed that he was the one who killed the Guardians of the Globe, and that is just a terrifying thought, which makes me like I think his name is CECIL, the Walton Goggins character, the one who runs an entire organization, how smart this character is, because he knew it very early on, and I honestly didn't think people would find out that Omni-Man was the one who killed all these people, after like 2 or 3 episodes, but that's what happened. But this guy, voiced by Walton Goggins, has a very smart way about it. He's essentially keeping it to himself, because if he releases this to the world, he doesn't know how Omni-Man will react to the world turning on him. They don't want him to break and snap and, destroy the world, because that's what this guy could do. He needs to have some sort of plan that he can use against Omni-Man, which is something about the show that I've been loving so far. I've been seeing the seeds planted. In every episode, there's a villain of the week type character, and these are the cyborg characters in this episode. And, William's boyfriend is turned into one of these cyborgs by the end of the episode, but he's able to kind of, snap back and help and defeat the bad guy at the end of the day, but he still is not the same person that he was, and that relationship between him and William is now broken and severed, but he is still around. And so that is where I'm seeing them, like that character said, oh, he even brought you to the edge of your seat. He really brought you to the end of the fight and almost defeated you. Could he be useful in a fight against Omni-Man? And I think that's what Robot is doing too. Robot is doing some different things. I haven't really been talking about this storyline in my videos because I really don't know where it's going. But he's taking samples from different heroes, and he's using the MAULER twins to basically recreate the DNA and forming this creature in this chamber. And I don't know what this being is going to end up being, because he's not going to be an exact clone of somebody that we've seen before, because that I don't think will help. But I think a combination of different people with different powers can be very interesting. And is he going to create a villain that's even worse than Omni-Man? I don't know. I feel like this entire storyline is going to backfire really badly, because you see that Robot in some way actually cares. I thought maybe he was a villainous character with his own agenda, but I do think he is a hero, and I don't think he's doing anything out of malicious intent. But again, I could be extremely wrong. I haven't read the comics, and I know all you guys in the comments have been telling me that I'm in for a ride with this show, and I am so ready to see where it goes. There's all these different threads, all these different villain of the week type things that I know is going to come back eventually, like the whole Mars thing. I've heard that guy at the end of the last episode, the one who beat Invincible almost to death, I've heard that he comes back in a brutal way, and I cannot wait to see him come back too. And you have this MAULER twins thing with this other creature, and you have Omni-Man trying to discover things, and his wife turning on him at the end of this episode, which is just baffling because I don't believe that happened in the comics, and that is just very exciting for people who haven't read the comics, but also very exciting for people who have, because the differences that they've been making are actually very strong. I'm really interested to see what they do with Eve going forward, and the relationship status of Mark and Amber is really tearing me apart right now. It's very good. I love this show. I'm sure there's things that happen in this episode that I have not mentioned. I mean, it's very funny. You have Mark and William trying to get Mark to show him to fly around with him. That was a very fun sequence, like a Ned to Peter Parker in Spider-Man Homecoming, that type of situation, that type of, relationship between those two characters. This show is very funny. It's brutal and bloody, and everything seems to be important. I don't even know where to begin with the end sequence, like the after-ish credit sequence of them, digging up the grave of these two guys digging up a grave of some other character. I don't remember the name of the character, like Immortal, I think was the character name. And then the MAULER twins show up at the end of the scene and say something. I don't know where that is going either. But that is going to be my review for Invincible episode 6. If you guys enjoyed this episode, comment down below in the comment section. Let me know what you guys thought. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. I'm very pumped to see what the last 2 episodes of this season end up being, and I'm very excited for the live action film as well. So thanks guys for watching. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like, comment down below, and do all those things. And I hope to see you all in my next one.